for credit unions in Minnesota, and we've been working with the Mayo Employees Credit Union for a few years now to help their members, the ones that we can, with your Medicare. So today is an educational meeting. We're not going to talk any specific premium prices for plans and all that. If you have questions about that, you can certainly ask them, but I can't specifically talk about it without you asking, if that makes any sense, government rule. But anyway, like I said, this is an educational event, and we represent all of the Medicare Advantage plans available in this area, many of the Medigap supplement plans that are available, and the standalone prescription drug plans. We're going to go over all of that, what the differences are. Because I had this question come up just a few minutes ago, Mayo retirees, some of them are in a unique situation where if your employment started with the Mayo Clinic, not the health system, but the clinic, prior to January 1 of 2002, you're going to be eligible for something through Via Benefits, which is a third-party provider that the Mayo Clinic uses to help you sign up for Medicare, and you're going to get some health reimbursement money for that. If your employment started after January 1 of 2002, you're not eligible for that. So you're welcome to use us for any educational questions you have, but if you fall into that employment range, you're going to want to use Via Benefits when the time comes, and your HR department's most likely going to make you well aware of that. It's almost $1,700 a year that you get, and I think that amount goes up a little bit every year, but you don't want to miss out on that. So I'm just making you aware that when that time comes, you'll have information from HR for Via Benefits, and you'll want to go through them to help select your plan. Any questions on that? Okay. So the agenda, why would you want to work with TrueLink? What is Medicare? What does it cover? What doesn't it cover? We're going to talk about the different enrollment periods and deadlines, costs associated with Medicare. What if you work past the age of 65? Do you need to sign up for Medicare? We'll talk about that. And then we'll take a look at the private insurance options. So if you watch television at all, especially in the fall, October and November, you're inundated with Medicare ads from William Shatner and Joe Namath and J.J. Walker saying, call this 800 number, we're going to promise you the world, and all this free stuff. Most of that free stuff is not available in Minnesota unless you're on medical assistance, meaning you're really low income and you qualify. Different rules in different states. So my advice is don't call them, but it's your life. You can do what you want. They're going to sell your information if you do call them, and they're going to sell it to a third-party agency, and they're going to keep calling you and calling you. That's how these call centers work. You're around the time you turn 65, if any of you are there, you're seeing that your mailbox fills up with ads probably pretty much every day, too, of people wanting to sell you Medicare. We have been vetted by the Mayo Employees Credit Union, and we know what we're doing and talking about, so you're welcome to use us if you want to. We're here to help you. There's no cost for our services. There's never a cost for our services. We provide education, which is what we're going to do today. And like I said earlier, we offer multiple companies that are available in whatever county in Minnesota you may live. And Medicare is not a one-size-fits-all. Just because your friend or a neighbor has a certain plan, that may or may not be what's best for you. We talk about Medicare Advantage plans, and we talk about Medigap supplement plans. Some people go with one, some people go with the other, and we're going to go over the details of those in a little bit. We are available throughout the year for questions and answers if we're your agency. I get calls quite a bit from our current clients saying, I got a bill from my insurance company and I know they should have covered this, so we just do a three-way call with the insurance carrier and help them realize their mistake, and then they change it. So we do that throughout the year. And then every year, we'll review our clients' coverage, which open enrollment is coming up quick. It starts in October. So we're prepping for that, and we just want to make sure that our clients from year to year, especially the prescription drug plan that they have, that the plan they have this year is still going to cover all of their medications next year. So we do those reviews every year for our clients. Original Medicare, there's two parts to Original Medicare that you get through the government. There's Medicare Part A and Medicare Part B. Medicare Part A covers your hospitalization, skilled nursing if you should need that, home health care, hospice. There's not a monthly premium for Medicare Part A. If you worked or your spouse worked in the United States for at least 10 years, that's the Medicare tax that comes out of your paycheck. That's what covers your Medicare Part A. Medicare Part B provides coverage for doctors and specialists, outpatient things, medical equipment, ambulance, the other things that Part A doesn't cover. There is a monthly premium for most people on Medicare Part B. This year that's $185 a month. That will probably go up next year. It does fluctuate a little bit from year to year. This year Medicare Part B is $185 a month. To get this, once you're ready, you get it through Social Security. So if you are collecting Social Security benefits at the time you turn 65, you will automatically receive a Medicare card in the mail about 3 months prior to when you turn 65. If you're not collecting Social Security benefits at age 65 and you're retired, or both you and your spouse are retired and you're not on an employer plan, you need to sign up for Medicare Part A and B. You start that process about 3 months before you turn 65, and it's through Social Security. So you can either go to the local Social Security office to do it. You can go online to ssa.gov, which is their website, and there's an icon right on the homepage, sign up for Medicare, or you can give us a call and we can help you walk through that process too. Yes, sir.
Is there an advantage to one over the other versus in person?
Typically, if you go in person, you're going to get your card a little quicker than if you do it online. When you do it online, it goes into a queue either in Chicago or Dallas or Houston, and it takes them a little bit longer. But if you're in a rush, say you wait till a month before you need it, then you're better off going to the local office. If you plan ahead, like you're doing it 3 months ahead of time, going online is fine too.
One other follow-up, if I do it online, and go to that screen, I'm going to pick Part A, and I have to pick Part B. Are there multiple choices?
So if you are retired and not on an employer plan, they're going to ask you, do you want Part B? You're going to say yes if you don't have employer coverage. If you're still going to be working past the age of 65, you don't have to sign up for A or B if you don't want to. A lot of people will sign up for Part A if they're still going to work past the age of 65. There's a reason you wouldn't want to. If your employer plan has an HSA or a health savings account, you do not want to sign up for Medicare Part A if you or your spouse is going to continue working, and whichever one of you owns the employer plan, neither one of you want to sign up for Medicare Part A or B at age 65. You want to wait until you're ready to retire. And if you have a spouse or you are the spouse that's on the employer plan, both of you can delay enrolling in Medicare until retirement. Any questions? Yes, sir.
And you said again that if you're already collecting Social Security, you just automatically get enrolled and get your card?
You will automatically be signed up for Medicare Part A and B. However, if you have a spouse that's still working and you're on their employer plan and they're going to continue to work, there's going to be instructions with your Medicare card on how you can suspend Medicare Part B, which you want to do if you're on an employer plan, because you don't need to be paying that $185 a month for that. Yes?
So my Social Security account is closing. Do I have to unfreeze it?
You're going to have to contact Social Security to unfreeze it?
So I'll
Yes.
go up in person?
Well, you can. Do you have the number for the local office?
No.
Oh, let me get that for you if everyone doesn't mind here. If I can. Oh, this isn't my computer. Ask me afterwards. I do have the numbers to the local offices in Minnesota. If you call the 800 number, you're going to be on hold for an hour or two. If you call the local office, you'll be on hold for maybe 10 minutes.
Okay, and then also, when do you sign up for Part B?
So that's going to be when you have signed up for Medicare Part A and B, and you've received your Medicare card. You're going to sign up for Part D when you are ready to sign up for supplemental coverage with Medicare, when you no longer have employer coverage.
Okay, so when I go through my VITA benefits.
They're going to sign you up for Part D if you're using VIA benefits.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes?
So if you're turning 65 and your spouse will still have coverage for you through an employer, and we're saying don't sign up for A or B, do you still have to go into the system and do any form of acknowledgement?
You do not. And we're going to get to that. There's a form that the employer fills out for you. So when you do sign up for Medicare Part, let's say you're 68, your spouse is 65, they want to retire, you're going to leave whatever employer coverage you have. When you apply for Medicare Part B, there's a form you fill out so you don't get penalized for not signing up at age 65, and we'll go over that in just a minute. Yes?
Where's the local office currently?
Does anybody know? I have the address. Yes.
It's on Broadway in the city office building.
Thank you.
Do you know where that is?
I can look that up.
Okay, it's like a 300.
Right above the old post office, I think.
No, it's,
They did move recently.
yeah, you know where the IRS is? It's in the same,
Yeah.
same building as IRS.
I don't know if they've opened back up. Do you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. I think most of them are now being required to be staffed and open again. They hadn't been since COVID, a lot of them. So, but yeah, if you need that local phone number, I can give that to you afterwards. Okay. So there are things, original Medicare, if all you had was original Medicare Part A and B, that they don't cover. They don't give you comprehensive dental coverage or worldwide coverage. They don't cover hearing or vision exams, don't give you fitness benefits, and they don't cover outpatient prescription drugs if all you have is Medicare A and B. That's why we're going to talk about either the Advantage plans or standalone Part D prescription drug plans. Part D plans are the ones that cover your prescriptions. The different enrollment periods. Your first initial coverage enrollment period is going to be based around your 65th birth date. So you can start applying for Medicare Part A and B if you're not going to have coverage through an employer, either yours or your spouse's, and if you're not collecting Social Security benefits yet. This can start 3 months before the month you turn 65, the month of, and 3 months following. So you have a 7-month window in which you're first eligible to enroll in Medicare. Again, if you're collecting Social Security benefits at age 65, you will automatically receive your Medicare card in the mail about 3 months before. If you are someone who's going to delay coverage because either you or a spouse has employer coverage, as long as the employer has 20 or more employees, and obviously if you're working for Mayo, they do, and it's called creditable coverage. Every year, usually in November, the employer has to send out a letter letting you know if their plan offers creditable coverage. As long as you meet those two criteria, you can delay enrolling in Medicare until retirement comes. When that time gets near, you're going to want to start applying for Medicare Part A if you didn't already do that, or Medicare Part B, about 3 months before you want Medicare to begin. That's called a special election period. Then once you are on a Medicare plan every year from October 15th through December 7th, this is a time frame in which you can change if you want to review other options for the next year. You can do that during October 15th through December 7th. Every year on October 1st, all the new plan information comes out on the Medicare website. So from October 1st on, that's when we start reviewing our clients' prescription drugs to see if the plan they have this year is still going to be the best option for them for next year. There's a lot of change coming for next year in Minnesota, well, across the country too, but you may have heard in the news recently that UCare, which was the second largest Medicare Advantage plan in the state, they're not going to be offering any Medicare Advantage plans next year. So if you know of anybody who's currently on UCare, they have to find another plan because their UCare plan is going to end the end of this year. Their supplement plans won't, but their Medicare Advantage plans will not be available to them for next year. So if you have friends or parents or whatever it be that have UCare, they have to make a switch for next year if they want coverage. There will be some other changes too. That's probably the biggest one that we're looking at in Minnesota. And then if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, there's also an open enrollment period. Let's say you didn't review your coverage in January, you go to the pharmacy and find out a prescription that was covered the previous year isn't going to be covered in their formulary any longer, and you don't want to pay $800 a month for your Eliquis. Well, you have one more option if you have an Advantage plan from January 1 through March 31 to make a switch. Whatever month you do that, it goes into effect the first day of the following month. That's only for Advantage plans. Any questions on that? Okay. So delaying Medicare benefits. You can compare the cost of your benefits to what Medicare would cost you. From the experience I've had working with male retirees, you're typically better off to keep the male plan once you're eligible for Medicare. Typically, not always, but in most cases you would be. The male's coverage, if that's what you have, is deemed creditable by Medicare. And again, if you have an HSA where you're contributing to a health savings account with your employer plan, you do not want to apply for Medicare Part A at age 65. If you do, you will no longer be able to contribute to your HSA account. When you are ready to retire, you want to stop, technically you want to stop contributing to your HSA account 6 months before you're going to retire and go off your employer plan. The reason for this is if you're beyond the age of 65 and you have an HSA account, once you sign up for Medicare Part A, they automatically backdate that 6 months. So if you're beyond the age of 65 and you haven't applied for Medicare Part A and B yet, when you do apply, Social Security is going to backdate your Part A to start 6 months before your Part B starts. For whatever reason, that's what they do. Because they do that, if you've contributed to your HSA account during those 6 months, you're going to be taxed on it if you didn't stop contributing to your HSA account. So my recommendation to folks is when the annual enrollment for an employer plan comes up, usually in November, if you have a pretty good idea you or your spouse is going to retire that next year, stop contributing to your HSA account come January. And then as long as it's June or later, July or later, you won't be taxed on your HSA contributions. If you forget to do that, it's not a huge issue. It's not like it's a huge tax, but you will have to pay tax on those HSA if you forget to do that. Again, when you're ready to retire, you can apply for Medicare Part A and B online, ssa.gov, or you can go to the local Social Security office or call the local office or call us and we can help you with that. There's a Part B form that you're going to submit that your employer gives you. It looks like this, which is what we came up a little bit ago. So it's called a Request for Employment Information. This gets submitted at the same time you're going to submit an application for Medicare Part B. With this, you fill out Section A, your employer fills out Section B, and what they're doing, it's an attestation that they're saying, yes, these people, if it's you and your spouse, they had coverage through their employer up until this date, and when you submit this, if you're past the age of 65, this prevents you not having to pay a penalty because you didn't apply at age 65. If you don't submit it, you'll be paying a penalty. If you had employer coverage, you don't need to be paying that penalty, so you do need to submit this form from your employer. And I think if you're with the Mayo plan or even the IBM plan, their HR department should be very familiar with this. If they're not, I can send the form to you. But you need to submit this at the time you submit Medicare Part B. You do not need to do it at age 65. If you contact Social Security saying, I'm still working and I'm going to delay, they're going to say, thanks, but I don't need to know that. So, yes?
So, I've been retired for a while, collecting Social Security, I still have to fill this out?
Not if you're coming up to age 65. If you're coming up to age 65 and you sign up for A and B, you do not need to submit this. And there are income impacts once you go on to Medicare. There's impacts for low income and there's impacts for high income. For lower incomes, there's something called extra help that is available. If you qualify for extra help, it's going to lower the cost of your Medicare Part B premium and what you pay for your prescription medications. So the family size column on the left, and then the percentages across the top, that's the percentage of the federal poverty guidelines. And if your income is going to fall below whatever those levels are, based on your family size once you retire, it's likely you're going to qualify for some sort of extra help. Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's someone who's older and their income has dropped and you know they're struggling financially. If they qualify for extra help, it can be a big help to them. So they can either contact Social Security or they can contact their County Department of Human Services, and they can help them fill out an application to see if they qualify for extra help. Again, if they do, if people qualify at the 100% of extra help, they won't any longer have to pay that $185 premium, which that means their Social Security check goes up by that amount, and they get a lot of help with their prescription drug costs. So if you know of anybody in that situation, it's worth their time to do that. For the high income folks, there's something called an income-related monthly adjustment amount. And every year, Social Security and the IRS are going to take a look at your federal tax returns from 2 years ago. They're going to look at your modified adjusted gross income from your federal tax. And if you fall into one of these categories, you're going to have to pay a surcharge once you go on to Medicare Part B and D every month for the rest of the year. If you file your taxes or filed your taxes single from 2 years ago and your income was over $106,000, if you were married filing jointly and your income was over $212,000 from your modified adjusted gross, I should say, from 2 years ago, you're going to have a surcharge added on to your Part B premium and your Part D premium. So you can see in the middle of the column here, if your income from 2 years ago fell into the category of $212,000 to $266,000, they're going to add on $74 a month to that $185 or whatever the Part B premium is for that year. And that will be added on for every month for the rest of the year, and then it gets reevaluated every year. For your prescription drug, that would be $13.70. The higher your income, the higher, so if your income was above $750,000 filing married, you would have $443.90 added on to the $185 that you would pay every month. So I just want to make you aware of this. For some folks, if you have, you're going to have a lump sum of something paid out to you a couple years before you're ready to retire, it's good to know this because it can help you on the timing of when you do this. Some people receive an inheritance or something that inflates their income. It is worth, you can contest, if you fall into this category, you'll get a letter from Social Security making you aware of it, and then they have a way for you to appeal the decision. So if it wasn't just your regular income, but you received like a lump sum inheritance or something, you can appeal this. I've had people who were successful on the first appeal. I've had people who believed that they were right and they were denied the first appeal. They applied again for a second appeal, and Social Security agreed with them on the second appeal. So if you believe, based on your circumstances, that you should not be paying these surcharges, you can go through the appeal process if you want to. Any questions on that? These thresholds do tend to go up a little bit every year. So last year that 106 was 96,000. It went up to 106 this year. Probably in November, they'll let us know what the income thresholds will be for next year, but just want to make you aware of this. Okay, private health insurance options. There's what's called supplement plans, also called Medigap plans. There's Medicare Advantage plans or Medicare Part C, and there are some counties in Minnesota that have what's called Medicare cost plans. There's only 21 counties in Minnesota that have those. And then there's Medicare Part D plans, which are standalone prescription drug plans. We'll go over each of those. And anytime you have a question when I'm explaining this, just let me know as we go along. So with Medigap plans or supplement plans, in most states they're called Plan F or Plan G or Plan N. Minnesota doesn't call them that. Nobody knows why, but we don't. We call them basic plans or extended basic. Some insurance carriers have a copay plan, and some insurance carriers also have a high deductible plan. With Medicare supplement or Medigap plans, the benefits do not change from year to year. Your premium will change from year to year, but the benefits don't change from year to year. With a Medigap plan, any doctor across the country who accepts Medicare payment will accept your Medigap plan. There's no network. It travels with you when you leave the state or the country. And if you were to have a Medigap plan in Minnesota and you relocate or move to another state, you don't lose your plan. The downside to that is Minnesota has some of the most expensive Medigap plans in the country. If you moved across the border to Wisconsin, the Medigap plans are about half the price of what they are here in Minnesota. But you lose your plan if you move to another state. Typically, if you're joining a Medigap plan, after 6 months of enrolling in a Part B plan, they're going to have underwriting, or they're going to ask you health questions. That is changing a little bit in Minnesota. The Minnesota legislature created an annual enrollment period for Medigap plans that starts the fall of next year, of 2026. So if you start out with an Advantage plan and you want to enroll in a Medigap plan in Minnesota, you're going to be able to make that switch during the annual enrollment period without any health questions being asked up until age 70. If you're beyond the age of 70, then you have to go through underwriting. But just wanted to make you aware of that. With the Medigap plans, it's your medical coverage. Medigap plans do not offer dental coverage or vision coverage or prescription drug coverage. So if you go with a Medigap plan, you're going to need to add plans on for those types of things if you want coverage for those things. With Medicare Advantage plans, they're everything together for one monthly premium. So with Advantage plans, you're going to have dental, vision, hearing benefits, free gym membership. There's a lot of extras that you can get with Advantage plans. They do have a provider network, which is important. You want to make sure that your doctor's in network, and we go over all of that if we meet with you. There are some insurance carriers like Blue Cross and Medica in Minnesota where 97 to 98% of providers are in network. Mayo Clinic does accept some Advantage plans, and they do accept Blue Cross and Medica. They accept Humana and United Healthcare. That can change from year to year, but as of this year, they do accept Advantage plans in Rochester. The facilities in Jacksonville and Arizona do not accept Medicare Advantage plans. With an Advantage plan, there's two different types of Advantage plans in Minnesota. There are HMO plans and there are PPO plans. There aren't a lot of HMO plans that are going to be left now that UCare is exiting the market. But with an HMO plan, you're going to be much more limited on coverage if you're traveling and seeing specialists. With PPO plans, you're going to have coverage all across the country, and you don't need a referral to see a specialist. So if you were to choose an Advantage plan, you would want to make sure it's a PPO plan. If you were to move out of state or to maybe up to the metro or wherever you moved with an Advantage plan, if that plan isn't offered in that county, then you would need to find a different plan. It wouldn't travel with you if you were to relocate to another state. Advantage plans don't ask you any health questions, and the benefits can change from year to year, and the premiums can change, but Advantage plans don't ask any questions. With the Medigap plan, the question they're going to ask if it's your initial enrollment is if you're a smoker or a non-smoker. If you're a tobacco user, your rates go up, versus if you're not a tobacco user. With Medigap plans, with Advantage plans, it doesn't matter. Any questions on that? Okay. And then if you were to choose a Medigap plan, you would also want to pair it up with a standalone prescription drug plan, also called Part D plans. The Advantage plans include all of that together. The Medigap plans don't. With the prescription drug plans, each company has a formulary of, that's just a list of prescriptions that they're going to cover. So we look that up when we meet with you. We ask you for a list of prescriptions that you're taking, and we look to find you coverage for a plan that's going to cover all of your prescription medications. It will also tell us what you're going to pay at the pharmacy when you go to pick them up. It's going to tell us the pharmacies that are in network, not in network, all of that sort of information. There are different tiers of coverage on the plans. Typically, tiers 1 and 2 are going to be your generic medications. Tiers 3 and 4 are going to be brand name medications, and then Tier 5 would be if you had any specialty medications. A lot of the insurance carriers are getting away from the Tier 6, so I won't go into that. If you don't enroll in a Part D plan when you're first eligible for Medicare Part A and B, or when you first sign up for it, meaning you no longer have employer coverage, I've been doing this for 17 years, and I've had clients over the years who say, I don't take any prescription medications and I'm never going to. It's your life, you can do what you want to. If you do end up signing up for a prescription drug coverage down the road after you've been on Medicare for a while, you're going to pay a penalty for the number of years you went without coverage, and that penalty gets added on to your monthly premium every month for the rest of your life. So there are some good options for those people who don't take any medications, who want to avoid the penalty. There's some very low-cost options available so that you don't have to worry about that, and that's what I would advise. But again, it's your life, and if you don't want a prescription drug plan, for whatever reason, you don't have to choose one. Any questions? Okay. Something that's new this year is the federal government is requiring insurance carriers to pay for 100% of the cost of your medications if you hit the cap of $2,000. In the past, we had something called the donut hole or the coverage gap, where once your cost reached a certain level, you paid 25% of the cost of your medications. That's gone away, and in place, medication costs for this year are capped at $2,000. So it's not a true $2,000 for most people. It's a national formula that's very complicated, but if your medication costs, and if you're on some expensive tier 3 medications, like Eliquis or Jardiance or something like that, you're probably going to reach this cap before the end of the year if you start in January. If you do, if your income's limited, I was working with a lady last year who was going to hit this cap the first month she went on in January. And once you're retired and you have limited income, it can be a struggle for some people to pay out $2,000 in a month. So every insurance carrier is required to offer a prescription payment program. There's no cost for the program. You sign up for it. You enroll directly with your insurance carrier. And if you choose to enroll in this, your costs get spread out over 12 months. The idea is to make it a little easier for you to afford your medications. If you sign up for it, when you go pick up your medications at the pharmacy, you won't pay anything for your medications at the pharmacy. Your insurance carrier will bill you for them each month. Any questions on that? There wasn't a huge response to that this year. There was, I think it was less than 10% of people nationwide who signed up for this, but maybe that's a good sign. But at least it's available if someone needs help. Yes?
So, the 2,000, you don't have to pay the full price to reach the 2,000, you just pay whatever percent and then?
Well, I'll give you an example. One of the reasons UCare is not offering plans next year is they were the only plan in the state where your tier 3, which are the more expensive, like Jardiance and Eliquis and Ozempic, those types of things, instead of you paying 25% of the cost, they had a $47 a month copay. So just about everybody I worked with who were on expensive meds went with UCare because it was just by far cheaper. UCare actuaries made bad judgment because they're losing hundreds of, I think they've lost over $500 billion, or 500 million, I should say, $500 million. And they're not going to offer any plans next year. It was a bad move on their part. But when you had that $47 a month copay, some people would hit it in June or July. It's a complicated national formulary, so they didn't come close to actually paying $2,000 out of their pocket. But the formulary determined that they had reached that level. If you meet with us, or if you have to go through via benefits, have them review your medications, and on the Medicare Plan Finder, it will tell you if you're going to hit that level and what month you would hit that cap. So kind of wrapping things up with, we know with Medicare Part A, you're not going to pay a monthly premium. Medicare Part B, this year's $185 per month. That will go up next year. Medicare Part C plans, in some areas of the state, there are zero premium plans. There's not many in Olmsted County, but Part C plans can go up to $100 or more per month. But again, that includes everything you need together. That's your medical, prescription drug, dental, vision, hearing for one monthly premium. With Medigap plans, you still have the premium for Part B. If you get a high deductible Medigap plan, that's going to be about $75 a month. If you get a Medigap plan where you just pay a very small deductible and then you don't have any copays after that, those are going to run you over $300 a month. And then you need to add on prescription drug coverage if you want it. Those plans run anywhere from $0 to over $100 a month. And if you want dental and vision coverage, you have to buy policies for that. So if you go with Medigap plans, they're going to be more expensive per month, but there are reasons why people choose Medigap over Advantage plans. If you meet with us, we're going to walk you through that and help you talk through on which one you think is going to work best for your situation. Any questions? Yes?
If you sign up initially for either Part C or Medigap, are you stuck with that decision for life, or is there an enrollment opportunity for you to change that over time?
Yeah, so if you start with Medicare Advantage plans, because in Minnesota anyway, they created an annual enrollment period for Medigap plans. That starts next fall of 2026. You can move from an Advantage plan into a Medigap plan up until age 70 to where you can get it without being asked health questions. If you want to move from a Medicare Advantage plan into a Medigap plan after age 70, you would either need to be losing your plan, like everybody who has UCare this year, they're all losing their plans. So if they want to sign up for a Medigap plan, they're going to be able to do it without any underwriting, without any health questions, because they're losing their plan against their will. So that's another opportunity for folks. But if they just want to move from Advantage to a Medigap and they're not in any of those situations, you're going to be asked health questions. As long as you can answer no to all the health questions, you'll be able to get into a Medigap plan. If you answer yes to one of them, you're going to be denied coverage. One of them is, have you been hospitalized in the last 24 months? If you answer yes to that, you'd be denied coverage after age 70. Yes?
So if I sign up for a plan now and decide before the end of the year, can I go back and change it?
Yes, so if you, during the annual enrollment period from October 15th through December 7th, you can enroll in all the plans you want to. Whichever one came in last, the last decision you made is what you would have in January. If that plan was a Medicare Advantage plan, then you also have one more opportunity from January 1 through March 31st to switch it to a different Advantage plan. Yeah. So yes?
You said that this starts next fall,
In Minnesota, yes.
so if I have to sign up before fall,
Let's say if you signed up for an Advantage plan when you're eligible next year, if you wanted to switch to a Medigap plan, you would be able to do that every fall, October 15th through December 7th in Minnesota. Up until age 70, you'd be able to move into a Medigap plan without any health questions being asked. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Can you go back one slide? Okay. So I take it the difference between the two of them is gonna be your deductible and your coverage?
So with Advantage plans, they don't have any medical deductibles on Advantage plans in Minnesota for almost all the plans. You would have co-pays, but you don't have a deductible you have to meet first. On the prescription drug side, there may or may not be a deductible. For next year, almost every plan is going to have a deductible. The most that can be is $615. That's going to be true whether you have a standalone plan or a Medicare Advantage plan. But with the Advantage plans, you're going to have co-pays. With the Medigap plan, depending on the type of plan you choose, you may or may not have any co-pays. Did that answer your question?
No. Okay, so that side of the sheet is Advantage plan and this side of the sheet is a Medigap plan?
Yes.
So what's all gonna be covered in Part C on the Advantage plan?
So everything that's covered on Part C is going to be your medical, your prescription drugs, dental, and vision. All of that's together for one monthly premium.
Okay, when it says $100 plus, so realistically, if you're gonna be paying $185 a month for your Medicare,
Mhm.
what's your Part C cost? Is that
Well-
mostly based on your income, or is that
No.
based on what you pick?
So for instance, this year, if you went with the top Blue Cross Medicare Advantage plan, that's $169 a month. That includes medical, prescription drug, dental, vision, hearing, all of that. That's probably going to go up for next year, but it would be under $200, that plan from Blue Cross. Whereas if you went with the top Blue Cross Medigap plan, you're going to be paying over $300 a month just for your medical coverage, and then you would have to add on prescription drug, dental, and vision if you wanted those coverages.
Okay, so we'd have $185, and what did you say the top one was?
This year was $169 for Olmsted anyway.
So that's kind of a beginning part to decide what we're budgeting for
Yes,
those two numbers.
right,
Not exactly, but
right.
thank you.
No, you're welcome. Yes, sir.
So can you just tell us maybe one or 2 points about why someone would choose an Advantage plan over a Medicare?
Yeah. Typically, people who are in really good health and they don't want to be paying $300 to $400 a month or more for their medical insurance, they'd be the ones who go with an Advantage plan. For the people who they say, I'm in a position where that's not my primary concern, they probably tend to go with Medigap plans for the stability, meaning Medigap plans don't change from year to year. The prescription drug plans do, but their Medigap plans don't. And also they have the flexibility of they don't have a network of providers. Even though Minnesota probably has the best Advantage plans in the country, being that you can find carriers where 97 to 98% of providers are in their network. But probably their top reason would be cost, and they just don't want to pay that much per month. And they're in good health, yeah. Yes?
Okay, so now we go back to the other side of the sheet, we're gonna add $185. What's an average Medicap?
Okay. So if you went with the extended basic plan on Medigap in Minnesota, that's where you would have the deductible this year is $257. Once you met that deductible, you would no longer have co-pays when you go to the doctor or hospital, outpatient surgery, those sorts of things. For that, the average cost is, I think the Blue Cross plan is $306 a month for non-smokers. If you're a smoker, it goes up about $40 more. But you'd be looking at roughly $306 for that type of plan where you don't have any co-pays. You'd add on a prescription drug plan. One insurance carrier had one for $0 a month this year. That's going away next. It's going to have about a $10 premium on it next year. And the Part D plans can go up to well over $100 a month depending on the medications you're taking. So you'd be looking at $300 versus whatever your Part D plan. And then also if you want dental and vision, whether you can, say if you're from Mayo, I don't know if you can keep those options. You can't, okay. If you were to go out to find a dental plan and a vision plan, you'd be paying more money for those too. With the Advantage, it's all together in one.
So what am I putting down for a guesstimate on Part D?
It depends on if you're on expensive medication. Insulins have been capped at $35 a month, so they no longer really contribute to the high cost of medications. If you were on Jardiance or Eliquis or something like that that's a tier 3, you could be upwards of $100 a month on a Part D plan or more. Yes?
If you choose the Advantage plan and you have the Part C, I think I'm hearing you say that your network, depending on where you live, could be more limited. Some organizations may not accept the plan.
That's right.
How would one find out, like, if someone's looking to sign up for that, how far might you have to drive to find someone that covers your dental or covers your vision? Like, how would someone find that out?
When you're checking around for dental or vision plans, typically you can check to see what providers are in network. The dental networks are becoming much more limited than what they used to be. A lot of dentists are offering their own plans just because I think they're sick of dealing with insurance. But a lot of dentists will offer their own plans, and those are becoming more and more competitive too. But yeah. Yes?
At first glance, Advantage seems too good to be real.
Well, it's just, so with Advantage plans, they pay your providers directly. With Medigap, Medicare pays first and then the Medigap plan pays. Advantage, they pay the provider directly, but they get reimbursed by the federal government. So any insurance carrier that's offering an Advantage plan, they get paid X number of dollars per month to take care of you. And then their actuaries have to determine what they can price the plans at, what the copays could be. So like that top Blue Cross Advantage plan that I mentioned, if you had a hospital stay, you might have a $200 copay for that. If you went to see a primary care doctor, you wouldn't have a copay. If you went to see a specialist, you might have a $20 copay. For dental, they might give you a $2,000 allowance in dental, and they might give you $200 towards a new pair of eyeglasses. So you would have copays with an Advantage plan, but if you're, let's say you have chemotherapy, you have cancer and you have to go in for chemotherapy, any Advantage plan in Minnesota, you're going to pay 20% of that cost. So in that case, you're probably going to hit your maximum out of pocket. Every Medicare Advantage plan has what's called maximum out of pocket protection. So on that Blue Cross plan, I think this year it was $3,000. So once you'd paid out $3,000 towards chemo, or that's one of the few ways you're going to hit your max out of pocket, then your insurance carrier has to cover you at 100% after that. So Advantage plans do have those forms of financial protection, and those are things I would go over with you too. So in Olmsted County, with like Blue Cross and Medica, 98% of providers are in network down here. If you were to go to a cabin up north, you probably wouldn't want something like United Healthcare or Humana, because there's far less providers up in northern Minnesota. They're going to take those than who's going to take Blue Cross and Medica. So I ask you those types of questions and say, do you have a cabin you go up north? Because if you do, I don't want to put you with this carrier or this carrier, because I know you're not going to be able to find many providers who accept it.
So would you talk to us even if we're Mayo?
I would. So I've met with several Mayo retirees who have to use VIA benefits, but what I'm hearing back from them, VIA doesn't really do a deep dive on that. They just kind of push you towards one or the other, and yeah, we can walk through all of that, and yeah, you want to choose the right plan. And then you can, what they do is, once we go over all that, then I say, tell VIA benefits what you want. Don't let them steer you another, because we've already gone over it all. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, any more questions? In your folders that you have, there's this form, little form here. If you fill that out, and if you put your email address on there, I'm going to send you a thank you email for coming today, and I'm going to ask you when you need help with your Medicare. If you respond back and say, yeah, glad you came, I don't think I need help with Medicare, fine, we won't bother you anymore. I prefer not to call. You can put a phone number on there, but if you have an email address, if you put that, these days it's just more convenient for people to be able to respond than if you're standing in the line at Target and I'm trying to call you, asking you questions. I'll send you a thank you and just ask you if you need help with Medicare. If you do, then we'll set up a time when the time's appropriate for you. We can either meet here at the credit union, or I come to your house, or whatever works best for you. But that's how we'll manage things. So, yes?
So, I will turn 65 in December.
Mm-hmm.
I set up an appointment with you benefits for next Thursday. Is that within the range?
So yeah, so September, October, November would be your range. I would have to look at my schedule for next Thursday, but yeah.
No, I already have one set up with.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, it's within range with VIA, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it in person?
No, it's a phone.
VIA benefits doesn't do in person. So, and we can, I mean, we don't have to meet in person. We can do virtual, or I'm finding more, so I work with credit unions all over the state. The Mayo retirees are a little more up to speed on the virtual thing. So if virtual is how you want to do it, I do far more virtual with Mayo retirees than I probably do with any other credit union in the state, probably because you use it a lot at work. I don't know. But we can meet in person, we can do virtual, we can do a phone call. Yes?
And these are at no cost?
There's never a cost to you for our services. Yeah. Yes?
So is there different, there's only so many plans. You have a different plan than VIA benefits could
No.
have?
We're going to offer the same plans, yeah, for the same cost.
For the same cost, so
Yeah.
basically it's the same plans.
Yes. It's just if you're,
Special.
no, they don't have anything special. If you qualify for the VIA benefits, you're going to get that health reimbursement money every year. So that's why you ultimately, once you're ready to actually sign up for the plan, if you qualify for the VIA benefits health reimbursement, you need to go through them to get the health reimbursement. We can help advise you on which one's going to be best. I don't even know if they're aware that UCare is not offering plans next year here. I think they're based out of Chicago or Dallas or somewhere, I don't know, but yes.
So for the reimbursement, you sign up for that when you talk to people?
VIA benefits signs you up for that, and then they manage that money for you. Yeah. Yes.
I've worked at the clinic, just retired, I qualify for the VIA benefits. But my wife has never worked at the clinic. When she hits Medicare, will she be able to use VIA benefits, or should she be going through?
Was she on your Mayo plan with you?
Yes.
Yeah, typically she would then.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys had good questions. Okay, well, I'll be around if you have a question you don't want to ask in front of everybody else, but thank you for coming, and yeah. If you leave this on the table or hand it to me, then I'll follow up with an email. Thank you.